This episode of Fuel for the Soul is powered by ASICS. Head over to asics.com and sign up for a one ASICS account. It's completely free, and when you sign up, you will receive 10% off your first purchase. You'll also gain access to exclusive colorways on asics.com, free standard shipping, special birthday month discounts, and more.
Hi, this is Thomas with Believe in the Run.
This is Megan with Believe in the Run.
And this is Megan with Featherstone Nutrition.
And if you're watching this, you might notice I'm still wearing the same clothes from the last podcast.
That was 2 weeks ago. No one remembers.
I was like, should we change shirts? Should we do a little outfit change? Pull our hair
No,
out?
let's just spin around.
I felt like mine was black, and I wear black all the time, so
Black.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Mine is
Yours is very
a
aggressive.
special edition from Chamonix.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Anyhow, did you already say your feathers?
She did.
All right. Okay. Poof. Feathers.
So this is Fuel for the Soul, even though we've started off with a bang.
I was going to do a magic trick.
We are going to talk about hydration and nutrition and how it affects performance today, like we always do. And we're going to kick it off with a little chat about our sponsor, Runway.
Yeah, before we get into that, what I'd love to see at your next tour, like you have a big thing of feathers in
You've
the
said
ceiling.
this before.
And when you start the thing, feathers fall on everybody.
And
Whenever
literally
I'm
all I
sweaty.
see in my mind is the scene from Home Alone where he has tar on his face and he's gotten hit with the hot iron and now he's got feathers on him. That's all I see.
Yes.
I'm like some sort of nightmare, or I'm going to slip and fall on the feathers. They're going to be, I'm not
Okay.
trying here for this.
You'll choke. You'll breathe in, and one of
Right?
the feathers will go in your trachea.
Yeah.
All right. Anyhow,
Wow.
you want to talk about Runway?
Yeah.
Are you going to talk about salty carbs?
We're always talking about salty carbs.
I like salty
You
carbs.
heard us talk about it on the last episode. We've been enjoying them.
So what I love about it is that it has 700 milligrams of sodium in it, and there really aren't a whole lot of, actually it might be the only carbohydrate beverage to drink while we are running that's that high in sodium. Most of the time the higher sodium drinks don't have the carbs with them, so it's like the perfect marriage of 30 grams of carbs and 700 milligrams of sodium. And not that the product was specifically made for me, but I have found 700 milligrams of sodium an hour is like perfect for me, especially when it's warmer out. And then too, even when it's not warmer out, like if you're trying to figure out like how to adjust your hydration, I still use the same concoction, right? Still 700 milligrams of sodium. I just don't drink as much of it, right? So that we're still getting it. So I think it's a great, amount of carbs to sodium for somebody who does need, that higher sodium when they're out there. I just feel stronger. My stomach doesn't bother me during or after when I have more sodium. That's kind of the biggest thing for me. And it's just so easy to drink. I don't think it tastes salty to me. Like I think it's a good mouthfeel of a beverage. Yeah.
All right, so if you guys want to get some Runway salty carbs, you can go to runway.life. That's RNWY.life. Use the code FEATHERS15 for 15% off your purchase.
Cha-ching.
All right, we've got questions to answer, but we've also got a hot topic to talk about.
Ooh, hot topic? Is it going to be like black T-shirts and, spiked hair and
I think that's hot
emo
tropics
stuff?
You thinking about the mall store from like the 1980s?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That still exists.
I think it does.
It does, I think. They're the ones who have, they're like the cockroach of the mall.
Yeah, that's like the only thing in the mall is that weird store that people are still going to.
Hot topic.
But no, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to talk about Serena Williams and her promotion of Row.co. What is it? Row?
I think so.
Is it a GLP-1 blocker?
Sure is.
Ding, ding, ding. Meg and I went down this
I'm
rabbit
learning.
hole at our last location because I was like, are you aware of this? Did you see this? Because it's popping up all over my feed, as you can imagine.
Well, I know on the last feed we talked about Access Hollywood and the lady who didn't know she was pregnant. This was the other story on that episode.
Was it really?
It was.
Yeah.
You're kidding
actually.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, who knew? Yeah. So you guys already heard about it. So Serena Williams is now the face, the outward facing person with this new company, Row.co. Like that's literally ro.co is the website to, go check it out.
Roco.
And it's a subscription GLP-1 company. So there was a lot of buzz on my end of the spectrum, aka my Instagram feed, coming from sports dietitians, body positive dietitians, people who have been in the sports space for a long time, very concerned because Serena Williams is like the most decorated tennis player, and she was always criticized in the background about her body size when she was playing tennis, and she always stood very strong and very firm against it. She kind of reminds me of like the modern day Ilona Mayer. Like she was like, no, this is how my body performs, this is who I am. And now she's the face of a GLP-1 company changing her body. So there was a lot of people that weren't super happy with that swap, that transition. I always try to keep a super open mind. And I was listening to a couple other people that were saying, but she's not in sport anymore. Maybe she has a health condition that needed this to help her. She's not telling athletes to use it. So is it a problem, right? So it's like interesting to kind of hear, but all that to say, there is a ton of buzz around the fact that she is the face of this. And Meg and I went down the rabbit hole. It looks like her husband is the investor of the company. So maybe that makes a little more sense, but I don't know. Curious your thoughts.
That's what they were breaking on the show.
That's what they were upset about, is that she did not disclose her relationship with the company.
Interesting.
Is that in fact her husband is on the board or co-owner or founder or whatever he is. And so, that's kind of a
conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, yeah.
So I think, bottom line, we've talked a lot about GLP-1s on here, and they are a useful tool for a certain subset of the population. But, we've kind of talked about how it's concerning to us for people to be using it from more of a vanity perspective in the running world, just because we know how dangerous underfueling can be. And GLP-1 is basically making us underfuel because we never feel hungry or think about food. The other concern is it's a compounded medication, so it's not FDA approved. So it's not like the same GLP-1 you'd be getting going to your doctor. And then, of course, I had to look up the cost. It's $145 a month to be a member, and then it's $400 to $500 a month for your medication.
Whoa!
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though.
And that's all gonna be out of pocket, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
The big complaint, well, not if you claim you have diabetes, but the big complaint that they were talking about on the show is that this is a drug that has mass adoption without any long-term studies on it. And so you have a ton of people who are taking this now. We really don't know what the side effects are going to be. And if we've learned anything from history, there's always some sort of weird side effect to everything that you're going to be taking on a regular basis.
Yeah. I watched, when I was on the bike the other day, I pulled up the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix. So I was doing like large scale group weight loss programs, like very lifestyle based, very realistic, right? Nothing hokey or anything. But I was doing that when Biggest Loser was going on. And I remember people being like, but Megan, they lose 25 pounds a week and I lost half a pound, and having to describe like how this could potentially be dangerous. And then fast forward to all the research in this documentary talking about just how dangerous this approach was back in the early 2000s. So what we know now, we would never do a show like that again, right? It's wild to think about some of the stuff they did on that show. And I just worry that 20 years from now, 15 years from now, we're going to look back on this and be like, oh, shoot, we should have known this at the time, So, and again, for someone who really needs to take this for health reasons, it probably outweighs any of those risks. But when we don't actually need to be taking it, that's where my concern is.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into some questions here. Our first one is from Eileen. She said, big fan of your podcast and really appreciate all the advice and information you share. I ran the New York City Marathon last year and had lots of unexpected GI distress that really destroyed my race, increasingly the last 10 miles. Maybe I would have hit the wall either way, but my stomach was so bad I couldn't keep fuel down and was even sick after the marathon until Imodium settled things. TMI, sorry. Lots of factors I suspect led to it. I was using goo every 35 minutes and then getting water and Gatorade at the aid stations instead of taking them together. I know, stupid in hindsight. The race was so crowded, I was often grabbing more Gatorade instead of water, which also probably didn't help. There were lots of other possible factors that aren't the focus of this question, but I was sick that week with some viral cold and had wrapped up breast cancer treatment only in September. Only the immunotherapy part, chemo, was months prior. but realized my stomach and body had a lot going on, honestly. Not sure how much of that is relevant. So I've been training with Scratch Drink Mix and Morton Gel this summer and plan to carry a handheld this year. But looking ahead, both New York City and Steamtown/Scranton have Gatorade at the stations. How do I get some electrolytes after my handheld runs out? Should I train with salt tabs and water instead? This won't help with wanting extra carbs, so I don't see that being enough. I don't really want to carry 2 handhelds, but also don't see water alone working. I know you shouldn't do anything new on race day, so I'm almost tempted to train with Gatorade, but I'm nervous Gatorade played a part last year. Maybe it was just a fluke, but really don't want a repeat situation. Do you think the goo/water situation could have caused it all? Is there a need to keep away from Gatorade too if it's never been a problem before? Thanks in advance. Appreciate your support and your podcast.
I feel like I have PTSD for her. I mean, when you have a really bad race GI-wise, it's like traumatizing. So to come back and be like, how do I make sure that doesn't happen again? Like, I really feel for her because I think, a lot of us have been there, and it's scary to think like, how do I work on this? But a couple of things, she did have a lot going on. When we're sick, when we have a cold, we have a lot of like postnasal drip, which sometimes causes a lot of GI issues for some people. Also, when people have colds around a race, they get a little hyper aware of things they can do to try to keep themselves from being sick, like a lot of vitamin C, a lot of zinc. Both of those things can cause diarrhea. So like sometimes I see people like throw too much at the situation if they're sick around a race. And then I think probably the bigger culprit here was her immunotherapy. There's a huge risk of colitis with immunotherapy. So it's possible that she had some underlying stuff going on and then throw a marathon in that. And, of course, it was important for her to finish her treatment. And I love that she celebrated by running New York City. But I do wonder if that's a piece of it. And in that case, it's been a year. So hopefully, any of that side effect of immunotherapy in the colon would be better. And if not, she can talk to her doctors about that. But from a nutrition standpoint, goos into our stomach without fluid is not an awesome situation because we know those goo gels. I mean, all of us have probably seen one or tried one. It is thick and it hits our stomach and it needs diluted with water or it can cause some stomach issues. So I do wonder if the goo and not drinking with it immediately was another factor of all of this. And it sounds like she's not doing that anymore, right? She's using the Morton and the Scratch Drink Mix, and that seems to be working really, really well for her. So I think if she can stick with that as long as possible, that's probably the best idea. And then, maybe she carries just a little single serving of the Scratch and refills partway through. I mean, I think every time we've run New York together, we have refilled out there. It's very easy, very possible to do, and it doesn't take very long at all. So that would be an option. Or if you don't have too much PTSD to Gatorade, I also think there's enough time now that like every other long run you could do with Gatorade and just see if you tolerate it okay. And that way you could start with your Scratch and then just feel confident switching to the Gatorade on course.
I will say I've done both of those things. So when I was racing Chicago in 2023, found out Gatorade was going to be on course, I tried to use Gatorade in my training, and I did not like it at all. Just did not like how it tasted. So I went back to Scratch in my handheld, and luckily it was a cold day and I didn't need to refill. But I always have a little, like you're saying, like that individual packet of Scratch, so that if you do run out, I mean, maybe it's an extra 20 seconds total, but it'll be worth it for you to feel better at the end. So I feel like my personal feeling is skip the Gatorade, do what you like and what feels best. But
you also never know if what the mix is gonna be.
Yeah, the concentration thank goodness for volunteers that make all of this happen, but like that's just not a precise way of putting.
You know what they need to do? They need to include a scoop with it.
I'm sure they have some sort of instruction, of like this to that. But again, they're going through it so fast. They're probably like, wait, we got to make more, and having it for the volunteers to give to the runners is huge. Yeah, but I totally agree. A couple times I've taken it when I first started running, and if it was over concentrated, as soon as that hits your stomach, you're like, oh shoot, I shouldn't have drank that. Like it's just that concentration really gets some people more than others. So maybe we stick with what we know works so that you're confident with it. But how exciting to a year later be back running 2 marathons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And we'll be out there with you.
Sure will.
All right. Our next question is from Wendy Myers.
Wendy Myers?
She said, I am a 57-year-old runner who has completed 26 marathons. I have signed up for both the Big Sur and the Vancouver marathons for spring of 2026. I am crazy, yes. They are a week apart. I have done marathons that are 2 weeks apart, but this will be a new adventure. My question for you is how to fuel in between the two marathons. I have taken Megan's fantastic marathon nutrition course, so I know how to get to the starting line of the first race, but I'm wondering about the days in between and leading up to the second. I do not plan to, quote, race either marathon, just enjoy the scenery. I decided to do both because girl math. I may as well do 2 races as I'm flying across the continent for one. Thanks so much. I love your show, appreciate your wisdom, and Thomas, you keep me laughing. Well, first of all, I like her girl math because why not do 2 races?
It's basically how you started.
Flying across the country. I have not done either of these 2, but Big Sur looks amazing. I don't know much about Vancouver.
Yeah.
It's in Canada.
So, Wendy, you're going to need to report back after both of them and tell us which one is prettier. So, which one do we need to do someday?
Oh, I know which one's prettier. Big Sur's got to be
Big
the
Sur,
prettiest.
you think?
Yeah,
I've
but
heard
you're
Vancouver's
checking off
gorgeous.
a whole. Yeah, but
Yeah.
you're checking off a country in Vancouver.
Fair.
That's a Canada. I haven't run in
Canada.
Canada.
I don't think I have either. Anyways.
I want to go
yeah.
to Montreal.
Okay, so Wendy, we need to make sure you know the gig since you took the class with me. Pre-race and during your race, we need to carb load. And even though it's not a goal race, I highly encourage you fuel early and often like you would if it was a goal race or you were quote unquote racing it, because that's going to decrease the muscle damage and the calorie deficit that we're in after that race so that you can recover even faster. Like think about when we've talked about on here, fueling our long runs well, fueling them like race day instead of like saving our gels for the next run, right? We feel so much better after and we recover faster. So same kind of concept, right? So really make sure you're serious about the carb load and fueling and hydration during the race because that'll really help you bounce back and recover faster. And then immediately post race, the most important thing is to rehydrate. So fluids and sodium. And then next is carbs and protein. So just like we talked about in the last episode with Stan, if anyone listened, we talked about how our metabolic rate is increased after a race and we need more calories, more protein to recover. So just be really serious about nutrition in the days following. And then I would recommend another carb load before you head into that race. And I really do think that'll help with the muscle soreness and speed up the recovery and then get you feeling strong in that second race a week later.
Yeah, and I mean, have a freaking blast. 2 marathons
Yeah.
in a week. I mean, Ben Johnson does it all the time, so I know it's possible.
Yeah, Ben Johnson's also a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not human.
The second carb load feels like it
Hard.
might not be as fun the second time around, but
I agree.
also important.
Right. I really do. Because it's like, it's going to be hard to restock those glycogen stores in the week to the point that you're ready to run
Yeah.
again. You know, I think carb loading twice in a month was hard in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we take advantage of some of the local carbs. I don't know. Is Big Sur area, are they like the sourdough bread area too? I don't know what
yeah.
Vancouver's known for.
You can get bread in California.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I feel
bread
like
anywhere.
Big Sur's
Yeah.
close enough to the Bay Area
Yeah.
that you can get some good
bread.
sourdough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so good luck, Wendy. We have a question from Ellie from Maryland, and she sent in a recording.
Ooh.
Hey Megan, Thomas, and Feathers. I'm Ellie. I'm from Maryland. I'm a longtime listener, probably for about 4.5 to 5 years, and I sometimes even re-listen to episodes. I love everything you guys create, and I'm so happy that you're in the running space helping out the community so that everybody can become faster, smarter, stronger runners. My question for you is I'm training for my first marathon in October, and something I struggle with my current schedule is oftentimes I'll find myself running late in the morning. If I can't get out around like 7 a.m., it'll be closer to 10 or 11 when I am able to run. So I'm just curious about how should fueling occur in terms of timing and what to have before a late morning run. I know you can't have so much protein before a run, but a little bit is tolerated. But at the same time, if that would put you behind for the rest of the day, I know after a run you'll refuel with, I don't know, probably a protein shake and then a meal soon to follow with adequate protein, carbs, and healthy fats. And it's more so about the distribution throughout the day that helps you recover and replenish those glycogen stores and your muscles. But at the same time, usually most people get their breakfast proteins in. So I was just curious if you could help me figure out how to go about feeling that way. Thank you.
I feel like Ellie needs like a badge of like an honored Feel for the Soul listener. I mean, do you hear her talking about replenishing glycogen stores? And like, she is on it.
Look, I'm not the nutritionist, but I think that if you were going to go at a 10 a.m. to 11, you wake up, you have a coffee or whatever, you eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because it's got enough carbs and all that stuff to kind of satiate you until you're going to go run. It's not too much. It's almost like a extra Pop-Tart. And then you go out, you have your run. It's gentle on the stomach. Then you have a nicer, bigger meal for lunch.
I don't disagree. Yeah, I definitely think she needs to eat a full breakfast for sure. So I'm assuming she's up 3 hours before she runs at like 10 or 11. So that would be my kind of threshold recommendation. Like if you have 3 hours before you're going to run, when you're up, you need to eat that full meal. Because like she said, she's going to get super behind. Like if she's in the middle of her long run at noon and she hasn't eaten a meal yet, her body is going to be starving, right? Like that's not going to work.
You think she's doing the kid drop off, or what do you think's happening?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, she didn't give us the specifics there, but, you know, that would be getting up at like 7 or 8 and eating, you know, so I don't think that's unrealistic. It's not like we're getting up at 4 or 5, but I would try to eat a full meal, which could be Thomas's PB&J. It could be what you normally have, your normal protein, egg bagel, you know, egg sandwich on a bagel, something like that. And so position that like 3 hours out. Sounds like she's a queen of a balanced meal. She talked carbs, protein, healthy fats. Like it could be that full meal beforehand, you know, if you've got 3 hours. I probably would just be careful not to do too much fiber. But other than that, I think it would make sense. Because like she said, then you're missing a meal during the day. Then you haven't had, you know, super adequate nutrition. And you're trying to, you know, slam that all into the second half of the day, which usually doesn't work very well, especially after a long run. And then too, I would, if we're eating 3 hours ahead of time, she might need like some chews or a graham cracker or half a banana or something, just a real quick carb, like right before she does head out, just to kind of increase our blood sugar as we're starting, and then obviously fuel well throughout. But I would encourage her to play around with trying to get a full breakfast in if she's got that 3 hours.
Okay, so what's your go-to, Meg, if you are running a little bit later? Like you wake up and you're going to have a breakfast. Like I usually, even before my long runs on the weekend, I'll try to eat like a full bagel or like an entire, like something a little heavier than just the regular graham crackers.
Yeah, if I'm going to run, even if it's later, which is probably not what Megan would recommend, but like I probably am not going to do that much protein still. I'm probably like going to do a bagel, but skip the eggs until after, or I don't know. It's just like
cream cheese and bagel.
Yeah, it's just like my preference. I think before a run, I don't know. I haven't practiced that much, so it would feel weird for me. I think eating a big meal with protein before a run.
What about you, Feathers?
I think I'd probably do like 3 big old slices of toast with peanut butter and then like Greek yogurt for some protein on the side, just because that always sits in my stomach well. But nothing quite as hard.
So not like a T-bone steak or anything.
No, thank you.
All right.
What are you doing?
I typically just do like a bagel. Like if I'm doing my 10-mile runs on the Saturday, like
but
those,
that's like an hour before. If you have 3 hours.
Oh, yeah. 3 hours?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I probably do the full thing. I probably do like I like what Feather said. I probably do that. The yogurt, a bagel, you know, or even like the peanut butter and jelly sandwich is so easy.
Yeah. I think that's enough. I have a lot of people who do that before long runs, even when they only have like an hour or something.
What about a banana and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a super popular one.
Extra carbs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Down. Ooh, you know what I always do too now lately? I've been skipping the graham crackers and just eating your power muffin.
Oh, like the blender muffins?
The blender muffin?
The blender muffin, yeah. Meg has those in the fridge, and I loved eating with those with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, I like that. You guys are making me hungry. I think it's lunchtime.
I know, I'm
I
hungry.
know it is lunchtime. All right, we're going to answer one final question here. This is from Jason. He said, "Hi, Feathers, Thomas, and Megan. I first want to say thank you for the show you put out. I have learned so much about nutrition for running from you and look forward to a new episode to learn more. I am a marathon and trail runner who was recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Most running information about diabetes I find online is primarily about type 1, and my doctor's advice has not been helpful. So I'm hoping you could give some tips. I am 45, a male, 70 kilograms, 181 we don't know what any of this means. Oh, here we go.
He translated it.
165 pounds and 6 foot tall for you Americans. Thank you."
So can you just real quick, because I'm getting confused here. Type 1 is which one and type 2 is which one?
Type 1 is the one where your pancreas completely stops working. So you absolutely have to be on insulin. And so you probably
So
have
like you're a
pump
child
and-
that had...
It's not
like
always
those
child
kids.
onset. It can be later. We used to say it was juvenile diabetes, but now, I mean, I had a client recently that was in her 40s that was diagnosed with type 1. So it's not
Okay.
always when we're young. And then type 2 is the one where our pancreas kind of starts to shut down insulin production and or our cells in our body aren't good at receiving our blood sugar. So are absorbing that sugar. So our blood sugar just gets a little too high, right? That would be considered type 2. And there's lots of reasons for either happening. But yeah, you don't have to necessarily be on insulin as a type 2 diabetic.
Okay.
Okay, so he said, "I'm currently a 3:10 marathoner and need carbs to fuel these runs, so I'm wondering how to go about this. For long runs, I take gels and scratch, and my blood sugar gets down to close to normal a few hours after I am done running. My most recent HbA1c was 6.6. I'm wondering how best to approach carb loading for performance when it may take days of bagel loading pre-marathon. Thanks for all you do."
I'm raising my hand.
Yes, Thomas, what do you have to offer?
There's a product on the market that was specifically designed for diabetics that we're not always like is not always our first choice for fueling.
Yeah.
But in this case, sounds like it would be a perfect choice for him. The Gen UCAN stuff.
I don't know. I'm not sure because it sounds like I wouldn't recommend that for carb loading because you actually need a blood sugar spike to adequately carb load. So like, I don't think I would recommend that for carb loading. And it sounds like his in-run fueling is working for him, right? Because all of our blood sugars increase when we run. So it's just that if someone is wearing a glucose monitor and they happen to also have type 2 diabetes, they're noticing it, right? So he's saying that his blood sugar comes back down after the run. So that sounds like a really good control, right? That's happening to us too. It's increased while we're out there running. Our performance is higher, more sustained, and then it should come back to like normal when we're done running. So I get what he's saying about the carb load. And one of the things about this is everybody with type 2 diabetes is on a different range, right? So I think there's a lot of one-on-one education and things going on here. So we'll talk kind of high level about it, but I do often have questions from people that are scared to scale up carbohydrates for a carb load when they've been told to be careful about carbs and to be careful with managing their blood sugar. So I did look to see, is there any research on carb loading in type 2 diabetes? And the only research I could find was actually done in cardiac patients. So around the time I was leaving the hospital, you know, outcomes from surgery were poor sometimes when someone went into surgery malnourished. So they were starting to do like almost like carb loads with some of these surgical patients when they had 2 or 3 days before they knew they were going to have surgery, like if it wasn't an emergency. And what they were finding was the outcomes from surgery were much, much better if they went in with better nutrition stores, AKA more carb loaded, right? More glycogen. So they actually did compare type 2 diabetes patients with those who did not have type 2 diabetes, and they had 0 negative outcomes from carb loading before these surgical procedures. So although that's a very different circumstance, they did not find, you know, any risk of carb loading for these patients that had type 2 diabetes. So I think that's a little bit of a positive, like, okay, all right, these were ill patients and they didn't have any negative outcomes from it. So as a healthy runner, you know, maybe a 2 or 3 day short-term carb load is worth having maybe slightly, you know, higher blood sugar. Like our blood sugars are higher when we're carb loading, right? And it's a short-term type thing. I think one of the things to think about is, you know, the type of medication maybe somebody's on as a type 2 diabetic, because when we look at the concept of carb loading, we eat more carbs, so we raise our blood sugar, and then in a normal functioning, body, blood sugar response wise, our body spits out insulin to help bring that sugar and store it. So insulin is our quote unquote storage form or storage hormone in our body. So it responds to that rising blood sugar to be able to store that as glycogen. So if for some reason someone has an altered insulin response and they're not able to store it as well, like that's where my mind is kind of like, maybe it would be interesting to talk one-on-one with someone like this to see what type of medication do they take, how is their blood sugar management, which his sounds like it's been pretty darn good, based on his hemoglobin A1C. So there certainly are thoughts in my mind of where this might be a little different for one person with type 2 diabetes versus another one. But, all in all, most of us are managing this, that have this type of condition. And I would still recommend a carb load. And it's just, how aggressive do we want to get with that? How many days do we want a carb load? Maybe it is 3 or 4 instead of just 2. And then 2, maybe it's different types of carbohydrates. Maybe we're a little more careful to pair those carbs with some protein and fat to kind of help with that blood sugar response a little bit more versus, like he's saying, bagel with nothing else with it. Like maybe we're a little more nuanced with it. And then 2, if somebody does have one of those continuous glucose monitors on while they're carb loading, I could be of much more help to them to try to figure out, like, do we need to change things at all? But again, I think it would be, more of a one-on-one conversation. But all that to say, the research seems to support that carb loading will work for someone with type 2 diabetes, right? And it would just be balancing what you're comfortable with versus trying to get the best out of our glycogen storage for us, before that race.
That does it for this week. Thank you all for listening as always. And if you have a question that we haven't answered, you can send us an email at fuelforthesoulpodcast@gmail.com.
Just like Wendy Myers did.
We'd be happy to also hear your voice. If you want to send us a voice
like
memo,
Grace?
You can email us to the same place, and we will play it here on the show. Okay.
Peas and carrots. Yoink.
Bye.
Bye.
No. What did you say?
I didn't hear it.
Thomas.
Jesus.
You're going to have to cut out the literally. But yeah.
You can't say it again and then say to cut it out.
She said outweighs the risk.
I can't with you. I cannot.
Thomas, you're a child.
All right, our next question is from Thomas.
He needs a muzzle.
Go ahead.
Like,
Go ahead.
seriously.
Go ahead. That wasn't me. That was you.
No, it's not.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, our next question is from, I can't do it now.
Want me to do it?
You can't read.
I can't.
I need like blinders.
Okay.
Megan, can you read it? This episode's going to be a disaster.